Good evening. You have tuned into The Ties That Bind. We are labeling, it's like a subtopic, and the topic, The Ties That Bind, means that we're connected with everybody. We're connected with one another, and not with everyone, but we're connected for reasons. And our subtitle was a family meeting. And that was something that we got that from what my dad used to do. A lot of times we were always, not a lot of times, we would always have a meeting every week, and that was the time that we had to, how do you say what we wanted to say without the repercussions of it. You know, you say it within reason, you be respectful, but if you disagreed with something that went on, or something didn't work right, we would discuss it. And my dad would discuss what we did that week and how that went on, and so on and so forth. So this is us bringing our family meeting to you all. And so we have two co-hosts, and we have James and we have Tiffany. And I always do James' name first, but it's Tiffany and James. Tiffany is going to spearhead the subject tonight, which is going to be, it's on a topic that we started talking about a week ago, last week I think it was. So we're going to go on with that, and I'm going to turn it over. And I wanted you all to know that we appreciate you all coming in, and I hope that our goal is to be as honest as we possibly can, and to give you all the knowledge that we have. Because as we grow, I think I like the scripture in the Bible. It says that iron sharpens iron, and so are we supposed to do with one another, which is that when we get together, and there's another scripture that says that forsake not the assembling of yourselves together. And James, Tiffany, and I have been doing this, even though we didn't know it. Our family have been doing this since we were little. This is something that we did. This is something that, we just enjoyed one another, and we just talked. So we're going to bring that to you. And there's another, I know Tiffany had brought it up, that I mentioned something last week that was incorrect. There was what is her name? K. Michelle. She's a singer, rapper, whatever. And I said that she had cancer. And Tiffany found the information, and if she didn't have cancer, that they said that she has lupus. Now, I'm not so sure about that, but that's what's in black and white. That is what the people have written. So if we find more information, but we wanted to correct that with you until we find otherwise. And so I'm going to, without ado, I'm going to turn it over to Tiffany and James, and then they can go from there. James can turn it over to Tiffany for her to start. Hello, you guys.
Hello. Go ahead, James.
Hello, everybody. I'm James, known as The Bridge, and I'm here basically to bridge the gap between the differences that we have in our families and in our communities as well. I believe that one day that we will see that our problems are more the same than different. That way we can finally come together as a family. Tiffany?
All right, good afternoon or good evening, family. Thank you for joining us. I am Tiffany, and I am here to bring to you the building blocks so that we can rebuild our family and strengthen our family, starting at the family unit and building out to our extended family and then on to the community at large. So I hope that we can bring you some information that will help you grow. And with that, I'll go ahead and start. So today, what are we going to be doing? Today we're going to be doing the VIA character strength assessment. Okay, so what is the VIA? Basically, we're trying to identify our character strengths. The VIA is not a personality test. You'll hear people talk about personality tests and, this type of personality, you can talk to this way or that way. This is not what this is. This is an assessment of which strengths you naturally use so that you can more easily succeed. There are a set of 24 strengths that we all possess, and because we're all individuals, certain of us will have a higher acuity in certain skills, and some will have higher acuity in other skills. So it's not like one's better than the other. It's just identifying how you most naturally succeed. Why is that important? So the reason why it's important is because it can help you identify, become more self-aware. If you know what uses the less energy for you to be successful, then you'll be able to leverage that in order to win against your competitors using the least amount of energy possible. So I think as we continue on, it'll become more clear, and I'll kind of pull you through to that point to help you get to understand what I'm saying. Just to reiterate, it's not one result is better than the other. It's just your unique set of skills. The reason why this subject came up is because last week we were talking about keeping up with the Joneses, and Paula had mentioned how she has, she's a very charismatic person, and people want to emulate her. So what happens is people are copying what she's doing, and, they're sweating, they're burning themselves out because they're not operating in their own individual strengths. When you operate in your own individual strength, it becomes effortless. It's the difference between having a job and doing something that you love. When you're able to move within your strengths, things become easier for you, and you can use that to become, like I said, more successful. So who should do it? Who should do the VIA character assessment? Anybody who's looking to become more self-aware, anyone who's looking to improve their ability to work easier, and it's very easy to do. So how can you do it? Where do you find this, and when can you do it? Well, the answer to the last question, when, is now. The time is now. There's never, you never want to lose an opportunity to become more self-aware and to improve yourself. So if you've got 15 minutes to spare, then now's the time. Where do you do it? The easiest way that I found for people to find it is to search in Google. Just go to google.com and search Penn State, the university, Penn State VIA, that's Victor India Alpha, Character Strength Survey. And that'll bring you to the Penn State website. And from there, you can go to navigate through and find the survey. To make it easier for you, if you go to our website, we'll post a link for you, and you can just click on the link, and it takes you directly there. It can be kind of a lengthy process to get to the survey. But once you get it, it takes you about 15 to 20 minutes. It's a lot of questions that you just answer. Now, naturally, people want to show themselves in the best light. So it's tempting to give the quote-unquote best answer to the questions and not give the true answer to the question. But you're not going to cheat on this test by doing that, okay? You're only going to be lying to yourself. So do yourself a favor, do yourself a favor and just answer as truthfully as possible. You're not going to be graded against anybody else. There's no winners. There's no losers. There's no answer that's better than the other answer. You want to identify your individual truth. Okay. So with that being said, we're going to spend some time, and we're going to go over our individual results. So I'll start with Paula first. Then I'll go to James, and then I'll go to mine. So when you take this test, it actually, like I said, there's 24 different character strengths that we all possess in different degrees, and it'll give you your top 5 first, and then if you click show more, then it'll show you all 24 and where they fall. And we'll go over each of our top 5 results. We'll go over why it's okay to not have what you thought was your strength in the top 5, and how you can leverage those strengths in order to win. Sound good?
Yes. Sounds good.
Yep. Sounds perfect.
All right. Let us begin. So I said, as I promised, we're going to start with Paula's because she has this really pretty blue type, and I'm going to go with hers first. All right. So Paula's survey. So she took her survey yesterday, and I'm going to give you her top 5 surveys, and we'll go over what those mean. Now, I think this going through the assessments is going to be pretty quick, so feel free once I go through each top 5 to jump in and give your opinions, Paula and James, and to help kind of not speed through this too quickly.
Right.
So for Paula, her top strength is spirituality, sense of purpose, and faith. But that basically means she has a strong, coherent connection to her individual beliefs about higher purpose, the meaning of the universe, where you fit into the universe, and you actually can really hear that when you listen to her talk. You can tell that is, when she's talking about spirituality and faith, that she's in her strength and she shines there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Her second strength is an appreciation of beauty and excellence. And what that means is she will notice and appreciate things that are beautiful, excellence, a skilled performance, nature, art, all those things that are appeasing aesthetically. Did I say appeasing? Pleasing aesthetically, she's going to be strong in that area. Mm-hmm. Her third strength is creativity, ingenuity, and originality. And basically that's her being able to take nothing and turn it into something fantastic, thinking of new ways to do things, refreshing an old idea and making it something that's better. That's her third strength. Fourth strength is bravery and valor. You're a courageous person. Nothing scares you. You don't shy from a challenge. Difficulty actually excites you. And you will stand up for what's right no matter what's in front of you. And you act on what you believe in. And her fifth of her top 5 strengths, judgment, critical thinking, and open-mindedness. So that's basically thinking things through, weighing all the options, making sure that you're making the best decision for the situation that you're in. And you're flexible because you're open-minded. You're able to change your mind. If something doesn't work, it's easy for you to just scrap it and go in a different direction.
Exactly.
So Paula, after doing the survey and answering the questions and seeing your top 5 strengths, what were your opinions? Like, what did you come away with?
At first, I was just like, no, this is way too long. It had 240 questions, but it really wasn't. It made you think. Now that I appreciated, and they wanted to make sure they would say different questions, but they said the same question, but they would say it in different ways. So to make sure that you were feeling the same way about everything. And so when I walked away with it, my thoughts were that it was an affirmation to what I have been going against, or thought I was going against, for a very long time. And since I was a child, there were things that I just inherently knew, or I could see. I know my dad would always say, I was just like, I cannot believe that they just believed that, and that you couldn't see that she was lying, and blah, blah, blah. And I remember my dad just sat there, and my dad, you have to know my dad to realize what I'm saying, but he was just like, well, not everybody has your gift. And I was just like, what? I was just like, okay. But as I got older, I understood what he said. It comes back to my mind. And so my thing is, it strengthens you that you would know. And see, my thing was, this is something that from a child, that people should allow you to experiment this and accept what you have to give, and the ones that are older and wiser should strengthen that for you and let you know, and just and a lot of this, they're getting this, but this is something that you should grow up with. You can reaffirm this. And I sit here and I watch the kids just, now, we played games. We don't want to go back through that again. But we played games, but even at that point, our gifts were coming through in the games. We were looking for certain things in the game. And I see kids just get on the tube and get on the games, and they're just doing something. And you should, and I always say this, that if you don't have a reason for doing what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing it. And I know we were talking about this last week, is if you don't know why or how you got where you have gotten, it's easy for you to fall.
Right.
And I think that is something that is good, because we're not, a lot of people aren't getting that from home now. And this is good that someone went in and had the wherewithal, the what do you call it, wisdom, to because it's more than the notion to put these questions down and put it in the manner that it comes up with your exact mentality, your strength, So that was what I came away with it, because I started reading you all as well, and that is why from the beginning we all got along, even though we had different personalities and we all had different things to do. We shoot, I'm sitting here and my dog is doing something in here. I don't know what he's doing. But we all, God put us all together for a reason, for such as this that we're doing right now. And so I am always blessed when I see stuff, when I hear things or I see things, stuff like this, and it does something to me, and I don't know how to put it in words, but it's just like it brightens me or something. So yeah, I enjoyed it, and I'm glad you brought it up.
Great. So
you brought that to the table. Let me put it like that.
I think for me, going off of what you said, for me, this type of thing and other things that happened since we've we've always been close. We've always been a very close family, and I think us three especially have been especially close, at least during my lifetime. And this, to me, is just looking at the results. And when I look at your results, it's like, it's like reading the Paula story. Like it's so authentically you, and it's so authentically you, and it's just a confirmation to me. It's just one of those. It's a little nugget. Let me know, okay, you're on the right track. You're onto something, and it motivates me to keep digging deeper with you guys to see how much more self-discovery we can come into.
Yeah, so, I agree with
looking at how your 24 strengths ranked, was there anything that surprised you? Like, did you look at anything and did you feel like maybe you thought something should have been higher than it was? Or
I think what was it? There was something that I was thinking about, and I was just like, it wasn't that I tried not to rank it, and that helped me to sort of rank where I am, but certain things happen there are certain things that are needed when you do things when you need them. So you got to be able to know that this is your strength, but it ain't time for you to do that now. I think what I was really one of the ones that I was thinking about, and I should have written it down because I was going to call you last night, and I thought, no, we're going to talk about this on the show. It was because I was so, how was it? That was one of my strengths, and I realized that I've always had it being courageous. And a lot of times that I was very, very shy. And I was afraid to say things in front of people, and because I thought that because when you're so young at a certain age, and that has happened to me up through the ages, at a certain age they think that you're supposed to know X, Y, and Z and not PQ and or whatever. And so that it's just everything just affirmed and brought it back to my attention. It's just like you had to remember. It helped me to remember and to strengthen some things that were lower on the totem pole than what I assumed that it was.
Right. Okay, so I just wanted to say, when we think of ranking, so they do rank these, but you shouldn't look at it as strengths versus weaknesses. So your number 24 strength is not less or not as good as your number one strength. It's just your top 5 are the things that you move through most easily. So I want to keep stressing and reiterating that because it's easy for people. For me, I'm a competitive person by nature. When I saw certain things lower than the top 5, I was offended.
Right.
But I had to sit back and realize that this is not strengths and weaknesses. These are all strengths. It's just certain things come more naturally to me than others.
Right.
And the same thing for you guys. So, James, did you read over Paula's? Did you look at our results, or did you just look at your own?
I just looked at my own. I didn't really read over it, but I did want to talk about especially her top 5. Like, it really does touch the core of who she is, really. Just in the top 5, it really does. And we all know that you're very spiritual-based for the most part. I mean, everything is dealing with God in the universe through just about anything that you speak. You know, you walk it, you talk it. That's just exactly who you are. And, you know, the way that you see things, especially when it comes to, like, nature and beauty. Like, you can tell us a story about how you had a bee that always flies in front of your face whenever you walk out. You know, you just kind of left it alone, and, you know, you just noticed that it wasn't bothering you, and I guess somebody else came to the house, and the bee was, I guess, more disturbed with their energy. And those are just certain things that, you know, that you take notice of that a lot of people wouldn't even think twice about, you know. And also, you know, your love for animals, again, with the love of nature, and that shows with the 50,000 dogs that you got coming to your house.
Don't talk about my dogs.
You can't turn them down, and you can't let them go because you can't because you love them so much, and I think that's a good thing. And then when it speaks on, you know, you facing different obstacles, right? I mean, how many people do you know, especially at the time that you went, just jump up and, you know, go to Africa just to make a major move in your own life, you know? No, not too many people do that, you know. And I think that's a very brave and courageous thing right there in itself. So, you know, it speaks a lot to who you are. It speaks a lot to, you know, your basically your characteristics. It really does. So, yeah, I enjoyed the top 5 of yours for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Well, and I totally and wholeheartedly agree. I mean, if I hadn't met you and if I hadn't known you my entire life, these top 5 really basically sums up who you are in a nutshell. I mean, and it shows all of it. All of these things show so brightly and so vividly in just the way you move, the way you talk, the way you interact with people. So I really enjoyed, and I didn't cheat. I waited till this to go through it because I didn't want to get ahead of myself. I wanted to, like, experience it in real time with everybody else, and I feel like it's super authentically you.
Okay.
So I thank you for taking the time to do that.
Yeah.
I know you don't like, you know,
I
people
appreciate you
flattering
bringing
you,
it up because it was just great. No. Yeah, but I have to. One thing, you see this stuff, and you can't really be flattered by it because it's something that you've done all your life, you know. But you just had to you're constantly fighting people with it because they don't hear or see what you hear and see. And then at a certain point, I had to realize maybe it's not for you. You know, maybe this wasn't for you. You know, I was talking to James and he had said that. And I think we have to take that as this is what God, because even now I can see your little baby, Alea, her strength's coming out in her already. And she, even though the edges hadn't been taken off, the sharp points, and she hadn't been molded because she's not old enough. You would think she was 1 or 2 because only way that you would know she was younger than that because she can't walk. And it's just like we can see that, you know, we can see that, and that's where we should be. My thing is, we're bringing it back to the spirituality thing. That is where we should be trying to mold our children and stop trying to I'm not beautiful enough. I need to go and have a get my boobs done. I need to go and get a facelift. I need to go and do this, that, and the other. And the children can't be children because the parents are so hard and trying to be young, you know. Embrace your spirituality, embrace your what you have garnered through the years that you've done, and allow them to get to where they are. And so I think that is a lot of what came to my mind when I was reading them, when I read you all's thing, you know, even from a young child. When I started thinking about when you all were just little boys and girls, that I saw that even in you then. So,
and that's
you know, I'm a talker of the,
I'm sorry, I'm pushing you off the soapbox for a second. Before you get too far ahead of the point, I wanted to stop and say there is a survey that can be taken by children I think maybe the 7 to 8 range is appropriate, because before that, they're still developing. And, this is more toward a older child into adolescence. They do have a survey available for them so that you can help identify those strengths in them and help them use those strengths to be more successful in school and in their extracurricular activities and that kind of thing. So before we get too far away from that, it's an excellent point, and that is available at the same website. And as you're looking through the available surveys, the VIA for character strengths, it says specifically for children. So same exact title, it just has for children.
Right.
So if that's something you're interested in doing with your older child or adolescent child, it's a great opportunity to help them, start doing some self-discovery.
Right.
All right. So
even that young, because even when I was young, I was sitting there asking God, why did you put me here? What is the point? I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. And children may not be thinking the way that you think they're thinking, but they're thinking stuff. You see things the way that you understand things the way that you can put them together. And I was just a strange child. But you may have a strange child. I see this all the time. And you have to acknowledge your children. And I think one of the questions, I won't tell what the questions was on there, but one of the things that you can't treat everybody the same way. You can't.
Yep.
Because they don't have the same gifts. They don't have the same strengths. And you have to be able to realize that. So and I'm glad you brought that up. That they can, because this is a test. And I was going to ask you, what does VIA stand for?
Let me go ahead and get to James's survey, and then I'll go back.
Okay.
Cover all that. So I don't want to have that information chopped up. It's best if it's all concise. Yes. Okay. So I'm not cutting you off. I will get to that. I just want to do it at the end.
Okay.
So without further ado, we'll go ahead and we'll look at James's top 5 strengths. You ready, James?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right. So and I didn't cheat. Again, I didn't cheat, but I did see the first one, and I automatically this is him to a T. So his first top strength is love of learning. He loves learning new things, whether it's in a classroom or on his own. It says you always love school. Now, you said last week that you struggled in school, but I think that those are different challenges that you had, and it had nothing to do with your ability or your love of learning. It was more of the environment.
Exactly.
Reading, museums, anywhere that you can learn, you're all about it. Perspective, wisdom. You might not think of yourself as a wise person, but I think people, when they talk to you, they know they can hear your wisdom. I know I hear your wisdom, and I talked to my husband about it, how I could hear, even at, watching you develop because, you're younger than me, so I watched you go through your teenage years, and I watched you come into your young adulthood, and I watched you become more of a man, and I can see a change happening in you probably over the past 6 years, maybe 7 years, where you really are like coming into your own, and even the way you talk, the way you move, everything is changing about you, and you exude that wisdom. It's very true.
Yes. That's why we call him Granddaddy.
Creativity. The third strength is creativity, ingenuity, and originality. This is very true. You're always looking at new ways to do things, always looking at ways to be innovative, to change your viewpoint on things, to change other people's viewpoint on things, and I definitely see that in you. Number 4, curiosity and interest in the world. You're curious about everything. You're always asking questions. You're looking for things to satisfy that. I consider you to be an autodidactic, which is a person who self-teaches. You don't wait for you don't have to go sit in a class to learn. You actually go out and you find the information that you want to find on your own. And you're constantly teaching yourself, self-teaching.
I agree.
Your number 5 strength, hope, optimism, and future-mindedness. You are a very optimistic person. You're looking toward the future. You've got a plan. You've got things that you can see, that you envision for yourself, and you're making moves to try to get to those things. So, like I said for Paula, reading this top 5 for you, it is so authentically you in the way that I see you as my little brother, and as a man, I definitely see these strengths shine very brightly through you. So, having said that, looking at your top 5 strengths, what were your thoughts? coming out of
coming out the survey, it definitely. I mean, it hit home. I mean, that's definitely who I am. When I looked at it, I was like, yeah, that's right on point. And even when we answer some of the questions, I'll sometimes I second guess the question or the answer, just to make sure I get it right, because a lot of things change over time, and sometimes I notice, I guess I got caught in between, whether, is that the way I used to be, or the way I kind of always been, or kind of the way that I am now, because, over the changes over the years, you have to develop in a new way and new strategies in order to get by for the day, So, I mean, but it's still right on point when I was answering it. So I was very pleased with the whole test or survey in itself. Like I said, it hit right on target. And it's real interesting because, a lot of stuff, you might not even see it in yourself. But when you read it, it kind of brings it out. Like, yeah, I am. I guess I do that, I guess I am kind of like that because it does make sense. And again, it's all about just being honest with the answers that you give on there, at least to the best of your ability. And it comes out really good. So, again, like you said, when I said the school part, I was like, well, I never really liked school. But, I go through my own school of thought, or, I try to find people that are very similar to the way that I think and the way that I like to learn. And I kind of attach myself to either those individuals or those type of books. So, I can see what you're saying. And, I like it.
Yeah, I think
you paused and I thought you were about to say something else.
No, that's all right.
Paula,
are you waiting for me?
Yeah,
I was looking at it from when I read it. I was just like, because you have to. There's something that he touched on, and when we were giving this to you, but this is only for you. It doesn't matter what someone else thinks. Be honest.
Right.
If you can't be honest with yourself, then it's not helping you. And that's when I knew that he was being honest, and because I would go back over and read the questions like he was doing. Now, did I really think that? Do I really, you have to make sure, you have to be introspective of yourself. And so I agree with that, and he has always been that way. And I think what he didn't like in school, which I didn't like, because they would pigeonhole you. This is the way everybody has to do things. This is the way that you're going to have to do this. No, he's too hyper, or she's just too slow, or she's just that and the other. But it's not that school is just that thing, and that's why you should get it that from home, and that school can reinforce that if they're good at what they do. The teachers can, but sometimes they won't. And then it was exact to his personality, what he's always been. I can say that because, I'm a little older, and I saw him from the time he was born till now, and it was just, I don't know, it just made me go back and just think about things that I hadn't even thought about, So, I agreed with all of it. And, that was his personality.
Right. And actually, you bring up another point that I wanted to cover so I don't forget. So it doesn't matter when you take this survey. It doesn't matter when you take it, whether you take it in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. It doesn't matter, because who you are at your core doesn't really change all that much. So we took this survey over the weekend, but you can take the same survey in 10 years, and your core of who you are is going to essentially be the same. Like Paula mentioned last week, what you receive when your mind is developing is pretty much set in stone by the time you're 5. Your synapses, all those things in your brain, that stuff is set in stone. Your emotional self, your mental, all that stuff is set by the time you're 5 years old. It doesn't really vary very much.
Yes.
So in 10 years, if you take this survey again, you're going to get results that are identical or at least very similar.
So they grow, but
right. You'll develop, but the core of who you are essentially stays the same.
Yes, right. I agree.
what was I going to ask you? James. So the same question that I asked Paula. So when you looked at your 24 results, was there anything that surprised you as far as the actual ranking? Are there things that you thought would have been higher or maybe even lower on your scale as far as your top strengths?
No, I think the top strengths were right on point, at least the top 5. And I didn't really see it as one was better than the other, personally. You know, I just kind of see it like, yo, this is who you are. Of course, you got your main core characteristics about yourself, but this is also what is a part of you. So one thing I'll say that I did not totally agree with, well, it's not that I didn't agree with it. My number 23 that's on there says industry, diligence, and perseverance, right? What it says, you work hard to finish what you start, no matter the project. You get it out the door in a timely fashion. You don't get distracted when you work, and you take satisfaction in completing my phone to shut off and completing tasks. So that's one of the things. Not that I don't agree with that, but it's actually one of the things that I felt like I needed to work on more within myself and getting things done. So I think it was kind of cool that, you know what I'm saying, even though this is not exactly how I operate, but this is one of the things that, you know, this is one of the characteristics that I want to have. You know, like I literally started putting stuff on my calendar recently. You know, trying to plan out my whole day. You know, making a workout schedule for myself. Make sure I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and work out before I go to work. You know, so that's like I said, it's pretty cool that, you know, it still points certain things out, even though you're not performing in that way. But it maybe it's something that you would like to, or a type of person that you would like to be at the end of the day.
Right.
So hold on a second. I wanted to touch on something that you just said. So again, these 24 things, they're all strengths. None of them are weaknesses. They're all strengths. So the thing to take away from it is there are things that you do more easily than other things, right? Your top 5 are the easiest for you to do. These are things that happen naturally. You don't have to work at it. It's just always is what it is for you. So the fact that you had to take some initiative to get tasks done, it just goes to show that even though timeliness and all those things, that is a character strength for you, it just requires a little bit more work for you to become more proficient in that area. Does that make sense?
Right. Yep, makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's trying to go from teenage or younger years of trying to do things in a proficient manner, the way you did it then. It's just like you can say that that's not something that you did, but we go back to those games, to go back to Mario, and you would not stop until you got to the place where you wanted it to be. You would not stop. And you remember how you said that you used to dream about the game so you could figure out how you can get it better? I mean, that's you can say that's not, but that's why it was low on that. You ranked yourself there because you wanted to get a little better, but that's who and what you are, and that's why you're striving for that. Because I trust me, I see people every day, and it is what it is. And when I hear people say that, well, it is what it is, I'm just like, what is the is? I mean, do you know what the is?
Right.
And they don't know, and they don't care. And that's a lot of people. It's just like, oh, it didn't work. Like you can go in the store and you can say, do you all have X, Y, Z? Where is so and so? And they'll say, I don't know. And that's it. They're not going. No, they're not going any further.
Right.
And so that's the point I'm trying to make. Everybody is not trying to strive to do a little bit better, to even see themselves that they need to do better.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with that. I totally agree with that. But you know, with saying what you're saying, I mean, this kind of shines a bigger light on the whole thing, especially when you're growing up in a system, right, that does not cater to who you are. It caters to the system.
Right.
So, and what the system actually wants. So me saying that is me knowing that that's who I am, at my core. And, it's kind of like when you're missing something, or you have like how to say, you have a hole in your heart and you're just trying to fill it with something. That's just one of those things, that, I feel like that I'm missing. That's one of the holes that I'm trying to fill, to get myself back on the right track, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, so I mean, looking at this again, this is like so authentically you, and I just want to keep reiterating it, because I think I prepared you guys to understand that there's no value that's more than the other. They all are equal. It's just certain things are easier for you, and I think I prepared you guys for that, and that didn't happen for me. So when I first read my results, I was like, well, you think this about me? Like I said, I was offended, and we're going to get to mine in just a second, and I'll let you know. I'll answer the same questions that I asked you guys, so that you can hear from my perspective. But
right.
But yeah, I'm glad, James. I want to thank you, just like I thank Paula, for taking the time to do the survey, and I hope that you got something out of it. So
yeah, no, thank you for letting me know about it. It's a big tool and a big help.
Yeah.
Awesome. So with that, now it's on to me. So I'm gonna go over my top 5 strengths, and I'll answer the same questions that I asked you all, and I'll get your guys' take on it as well. So my top strengths. For me, my number one top strength is spirituality, sense of purpose, and faith. Same as Paula's, and I think that's why you and I have always, even from when I was a child, we've always connected on a spiritual level.
Yes.
And because we both, it's just a very upfront strength for both of us. Appreciation of beauty and excellence, which I think was also in your top 5.
Yeah.
Noticing, appreciating things that are beautiful, doing things well. It's important for me to take the time to, make something look nice.
Right.
Curiosity in the world, curious about everything, always asking questions. I find everything fascinating. To my husband's chagrin, it irritates him, I'm sure, because I'm always asking questions, always digging into things, and it's whatever. My number 4 strength, bravery and valor. And the reason why I'm not going into these in detail is because these are strengths that Paula and James and I share, so I've already covered them. Bravery and valor. Courageous person, don't shrink back from a threat or from a challenge. You speak up for what's right, and act on your own convictions. And my number 5 strength is generosity and kindness. And it basically says you're kind and generous to others. You're never too busy to do a favor. You enjoy doing good deeds for others, even if you don't know them well. And this is all very, very true for me. So the first question that I asked you guys was what did I take away from the survey? So my first thing that I took away was, the first thought was, there is no way I'm doing this 240 question survey. Because I abhor tediousness. When I see something that looks like it's going to be tedious, I'm just like, my baby's crying. Chris is going to bring her to me. So if you hear her crying, it's okay. I'm going to get her together. She'll be fine. But I was very glad that I took the time, the 10 or 15 minutes to sit down and answer all those questions. What surprised me, hi, baby. What surprised me when I saw hi, why you look so sad? Aw. What surprised me was where leadership ranked, because I always considered myself to be a leader. And when I saw that leadership was the lowest on the list for me, I immediately, like I said, I was offended, because that's not what I believed myself to be. But then, the person who moderated the test for me, she let me know, it reminded me that, again, this is not strengths versus weaknesses. These are all strengths. It's just there are certain things that I do more easily than other things. And when I stopped to think about it, I am a military person. I'm a leader. I lead people every day. But I don't lead people by standing in front of them and telling them that I'm in charge. I use other strengths to get people to follow me much more easily than trying to boss people around. Like trying to boss people around it drains me of my energy. But I can get people to see where I'm coming from, to appreciate where I'm trying to go, and then follow me.
Yes, yes.
So after seeing my results, what were your guys' opinions?
I think that, I'm gonna. You want to go first, James, or me?
Go ahead.
James. yeah, like I said, because I read you all thing, and when I didn't even read my own, but it was, I was just like, yeah, that's her. I remember I thought the beauty was going to be the first strength on yours, because you always look, things had to look a certain way. You love little things the color of things, and you love the beauty in things. I remember the first thing that you were, I think you maybe have been 2 or 3, and they had taken you somewhere, and you saw they were telling you about the clothes, and, they were showing you what they wanted you to go. And you said, and everybody was just like, oh, that girl said, you said, this is beautiful. And they were just like, the girl said it was beautiful. I'm just like, okay, y'all got to, I mean, did you not see this before? But I guess they didn't. I guess everybody didn't see the same thing. And I'm just like, okay. And it was just so funny to me how everybody reacted to that with you, because you always were in control of you, and you always liked environment, and so yeah, I thought it was dead on. Your strengths were dead on. Other than the one, I thought that the beauty was going to be the first. Well, I thought I thought the religion would have been one, and then the next one would have been the beauty, seeing the beauty in things. Because you always wanted to read stuff. You always wanted to find out who God was. You always wanted to, just little things. So, yeah, I agree with that. Because, I'm a talker, so I'm going to stop.
Yeah, that's all right. I definitely agree with it as well. For spirituality, that's definitely huge in your life. I think we all know that. Especially people that talk to you, that are around you, they know that you are a believer in God, first and foremost. And you definitely study and dive into your belief in that, and I love that about you. And when it says, I believe you also care a lot when it comes to the family. So you have a lot of loving traits. Whenever there's a problem with the family, you don't hesitate to dive in, to see what the issue is and what the problem is. So that's definitely a strong strength for you. And I also know that you stand up for what you believe in. Also with the programs that you are into within the military or with your job or your work, now that shows, that you want to stand up for what's right. You don't want all these things to go past, like the abuse or any pedophiles or anything like that. You want to make sure that something is done about this. You're not just going to sit around and let those kind of things happen. So I think it does wrap you up as far as especially your top 5 of who you are. And this is exactly how you operate. And maybe you were kind of pissed off at first, when you seen it, but it does show who you are. And because you're this way, this is what makes you a better leader, than just, maybe kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't say ordering people around. I don't see you as a person that orders people around, but maybe maybe you may or may not have thought that's what leadership was, or directing people in the right direction. But the way that you move shows leadership. Right? You lead by example. And a lot of people,
I was going to say that, yeah.
Yeah, you lead by example. And a lot of people aren't able to do what you do. So, yeah, I think this does hit on a lot of things about you.
They follow you because of what you do. Because of what they see that you are, what you are portraying yourself to be. You are this thing. Yeah.
Awesome. So
I agree with James on that one.
I hope that this was eye-opening for you too. It was definitely huge for me. It's something I did this survey. The first time I did it was probably 4 years ago, but I still refer back to it. These, is a self-awareness tool. This is what I'm good at. This is how I'm able to move most easily. And it's all about managing your energy. And, like I said last week in my closing thoughts, energy is not what you get from a candy bar or from an energy drink. Energy is the mood that you bring to a situation. And when you operate it within your character strength, you're able to maximize your energy, because it's tedious and it's hard and it's work to actually operate outside of what you're naturally strong and what you're naturally good at. So I hope that you guys were able to use this tool. I hope it's something that you put in your tool bag for the future, and please share it with other people, because I think it can help a lot of people getting to a better, more actualized self. To go back to Paula's question, she asked what VIA stood for. So VIA actually stands for Values in Action. Values in Action.
Okay,
so
I like that.
So it basically just talks about the things that are important to you and how you can use those things. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was leverage. What does that mean? Well, we know now through this survey, this series of self-discovery, what things we're naturally more good at. So what does that mean? What can we do? How can we use that? Well, if I know that spirituality and love of things that are beautiful are a strength of mine, then I can use that when I'm talking to people, when I'm presenting to people, because I actually find myself presenting quite often, and I do use my spirituality. I use spiritual references, and when it comes to making a presentation, I understand that aesthetics is important. So I leverage my strength in seeing the beauty in things by making my presentations be aesthetically pleasing. I make sure that the lighting is right, the color scheme is right, the setup is right. I make sure that when I'm arranging seating that I put the right people together to maximize conversation. You can't just put everybody together. You got to make sure you put the right people together so that you can generate conversation and make people feel comfortable. So this is how I leverage my individual strengths to win, to basically win. So now that you two have had these things revealed to you, even though you know them already, even though now that they've been revealed to you, how do you think you will use these to leverage your winning potential?
That's a good question.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is definitely a great tool. So this is something that I know personally that I'm going to print out, and just have it by me so I could keep a constant reminder of this is who I need to be. Just in case I get out of character, and we all can get out of character. It's natural as life. But me personally, I'm always trying to find ways to better myself. So to have this tool here, I think it actually helped me to continue to better myself and to stay within my own boundaries, and flourish with my strengths, because, like I said, because you can get out of character because you may think that you're doing something wrong, because it might not be working the way that you want it to work. But sometimes I think you got to look deeper within yourself to bring something that's still within that characteristic, but it's something that you might not have noticed, or what's the right word I'm looking for? It's something within that characteristic.
Attention to it.
You might not have paid attention to it, or you maybe you wouldn't think that characteristic could bring out a different you, in a sense, a better you, in a sense. So I think I'm gonna use this tool and really dig deep within myself and just create that person that I always felt I needed to be in the first place.
Yes, and I agree with what James was saying, is to piggyback on what he was saying, because it did bring out things that sometimes you just totally forgot about, or you didn't pay attention to, or you didn't use it. You didn't think of it as a accent or something that you can use in your jobs or whatever it is you're doing. And I remember thinking when we were talking about this last week, and I said I remember walking out because I had this was right after 9/11, and I had gone out there and I always talk to everybody, and it's just like I would talk to a frog. I mean, it's just like I never meet a stranger. People tell me that all the time. You never meet a stranger, and it's not funny. It's not strange to me. I will walk up to you, and it's just like I automatically see your weaknesses, and where it is you need to be strengthened, and all this stuff. And so I'm trying to make it a little bit better. But I remember I used that a lot in my jobs. And I remember when I walked out there, and I didn't think that anybody paid attention to what I was doing. You know, I'm working, I'm doing all this stuff, and then everybody, these were people that we were honoring. They stood up and they were clapping for me. And I remember I just wanted to just fall down through the ground. You know, I was like, what is this? I didn't know what to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But then when I started reading that, and I was just like, because they look at it as your strengths and weaknesses. I look at it as these are your gifts. And not a spooky way that you just know that these are your gifts. These are something that you've had all the time. And I thought about James when we went somewhere and he was there, and my thing was, oh my God, these people, all the women were looking at him, and they were just trying to get into his head. I could tell the way they were looking at it. They just wanted to find out what made him tick, and find out, they found out, he's tall, he's nice looking, he's got that beautiful mahogany skin, and I'm thinking, if she comes over here, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick my feet out, and I'm just going to trip her up. It's just, I'm just upset. I'm just like, what are they doing? And I can see that their goal was, it's just like you can't be too. I remember hearing an old person say to me once that you can't let people, familiarity breeds contempt. And sometimes people want to get familiar with you so they can get angry with you because they can't find out that they're not seeing what they thought that they were going to see in you. And he walked up, and I remember because I hadn't seen James in a bit, and I saw him, he got up, and I was just like, oh, he's going over there near that girl. I don't want to call her what I said it was, that thought over there. Yeah. Yeah. And I thought.
You can just say thought. Go ahead.
And I thought, okay. And I looked, and I was just like, I'm going to watch, and then I'm gonna roll over there because I was in my wheelchair. And I didn't want to be in my wheelchair. I wanted to get it, but we won't go there. And I looked, and I was just like, James could care less. James had one thing on his mind. Whatever it was he had on his mind, he wasn't paying attention to the women. It didn't matter. He knew who and what he was. And at that point, I just started, I'm just like, I'm thanking God for him, and I'm praying for him that this will always stay with him, because people are always trying to break you down, they'll build you up so that they can break you down. And if you know who you are, people can't tear you down. And I know that I saw with Tiffany, I remember she was had flown to DC. And DC, and she was in a play, and she was in something else, and I was looking at her, and I looked at the difference between her, and I'm not talking about I'm not trying to talk about people. And maybe what do they call it? Because I know you, that I'm seeing this, so I'm not trying to put anybody else down, but being in the position that she was in, she didn't look hard. She didn't look, she could be that female that she was and still do her job. She had the strength, but she still was that girly girl. She got up there and she did what she had to do, and it was just, and that kind of stuff, I thank God for. Because I always pray for you guys. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I forgot that you were there for that. I forgot that you had even come to that play.
Yes, I had because you told me you were going to be in it, and I had a meeting that I had to, but it was but it was like an hour away from there, but I wanted to be there. And then I found out I saw your dad again. I hadn't seen James in a long time, and James was what he was. He's just he enjoys, I want to say a good time guy, but let me put it like this because that doesn't sound nice. He is somebody who just likes to have people enjoy what he's doing for them. And he wants you to he wants to see him. And that's what he's always done. He's always been, I'm going to put the money out there. I'm going to make sure that whatever it is you want, because we were sitting in the box seats. And he came up and he ended up, well, what do you all want to eat? And I'm just like, well, you know, I think I was in this, and I was into the veggie thing at the time. And I think Stephanie wanted shrimp and somebody, and we ended up, and it had to be like $200 or $300. He didn't say a word. He liked the fact that he could do that for people. And you can see the negative in people, but sometimes you need to see the positive too, and then you can strengthen that. And that's what he liked to be. And I saw that in Tiffany, that she was that little girl that she was, and I saw that in both of you all in two separate instances, but I saw that, you know. I remember when you flew down to, and I'm talking because this stuff is in my head. I'll be saying this to myself after I get off the thing. But I remember when you flew down to Dallas, and my thing was, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to make sure that I keep him in line, keep him in a place so I can see him, because I know these women are running around here and there's been these bathing suits. But I didn't have to worry about that. James wasn't, even at that point, he had one thing on his mind. And I remember I was just like, okay, he's bored. I don't want him to be bored. I don't want him to just to be here and get caught up into something. So I called the head coach down there at what was the name of the school, James? So I can't remember the name of the college.
Yes, I forgot the name of the school. It was
but he was an old time family friend, and I said I have him here. I said that I want to see if he can come down there and play. And James was in high school. Were you in high school? I don't even know whether you were in high school at that time. Yeah. But what were you, like ninth grade? What grade were you in?
Yeah, I was probably, I want to say ninth grade.
Yeah, he was in ninth grade.
Had to be around there.
I took him down there. I was like, you're going to take care of him, right? You're going to make sure that, you know, blah, 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 because he was like 2 hours away. And James stayed there and played basketball with college kids, and they were loving him. You know, they just, it was, you all have that gift. You all love people. You have always liked that. James has always, he never met a stranger. I don't care where we went. If there was a boy somewhere around to play with, he was going to play with it. Tiffany was going to talk, but she wasn't going to get her hands nasty. She wasn't going to get her clothes nasty. You know, she was going to go in there and play with her dogs. And if you wanted to, but you got to do what she told you to do. And you come in there and play with her, but this was her dog. And you can't do X, Y, Z. So it was just, I see this, and I deem myself blessed to have that God placed you all in my life. You know what I'm saying? So there's a reason for everything that you do, and I'm saying this because, and I want to let Tiffany finish, but we're getting to the closing of our podcast, but I believe that you should always be grateful. You should always be a good steward of what God has given to you. I remember once I had met a friend, and I don't know whether Tiffany remembered because she was so young, but I had gone to North Carolina, and Stephanie had a friend, and I don't know what it was about her. She touched my heart. And I was really shy, and I really didn't. I was in a place where I didn't want to talk, and she was just like, "Well, you can come and hold the baby. She had just had a baby. You can hold the baby. You can do blah 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 blah." And so when I got back home, I thought, "Oh, I'm gonna call her and see how she was doing, and just to tell her, you know, that I appreciated her because she was a beautiful brown-skinned woman, and she was just she was just something. It was something about her. I called her. This was like the next year. It wasn't even a whole year. It was just months had passed. But when I called, she had died. She was dead, and she had some type of rare form of cancer. And her husband answered the phone, and I was just like, and I asked to speak to her, and he sort of said, who is this? And I said, I don't know whether you remember me. I said, I had come down there for the summer, and she had just fell on my mind, and I wanted to just tell her, you know, that I appreciated her when I was there, blah, 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 because I didn't know what to say, and I think I was stuttering and blah, blah, blah. And he said, I appreciate that. He said, but I just want you to know that she passed. And I was just like, what? Because it was the way that he said it. I said, she's gone or something. I said, do you know when she's going to come back? That's what he said. I said, you know what? Well, she is passed. And I was just like, oh, my God. And I said, from that point forward, I was not going to let a day go by without me telling you, the person that was in my life how I appreciated them. And whatever was that was in my heart to tell them, I was never going to allow that to happen again. From that point forward, that she changed my life. And so I want to say this to our audience, to the people that are listening, to the people that have tuned in to us, that don't allow a day to go by that the sun to set on your anger. Don't let the sun to set on even if it's your love, that you don't tell that person because you don't ever know when it's going to happen. And I'm going to say that, and I'm going to pass it over to James and Tiffany, but I just want you to know that God is everything that God places in your life. He wants us, one, to affect the place as his people, and he wants us to be good stewards over who and what he has placed in our lives. And I want to leave that with you until we speak again next week, and then I will turn it over to James and Tiffany.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank everybody for listening in, for all the listeners and all people who will be listening to this podcast here. But I just want people to realize and give yourself a chance to think about who you are. At the end of most of our podcasts, I always talk about Gnosis, which is one of the 7 Kemetic principles, actually the first principle in the Kemetic way of thought. So, and that's really just learning about yourself. And you can kind of see how important that is when you start to figure yourself out. That's why it's very important, to take time to get to yourself, if that's the type of person that you are, to get to yourself and to figure out the things that you need to figure out about yourself first, because you can't do anything. It's kind of like when you go on to an airplane, right? And whenever that you look at the instructions, if something is bad going on, make sure you put your mask on first. It's the same principle, because if you're hurt, and you're unconscious, you're not able to get up or help somebody else, and that's why I think it's important for a lot of people to wake up, become conscious about who you are, become conscious about yourself, and realize your strengths in order to bring something out of somebody else, So again, I'll leave with this. In this life, we are taught many things, but I challenge you to find what matters the most, and that is Gnosis. Know yourself so you can operate in the present to secure the future you always dreamed of. And I'm going to pass it on to Tiffany.
Yes. Tip.
I'm having sound issues, so if you guys can hear me, please let me know.
Yes, we hear you.
I hear you.
Okay, great. I was having some audio issues. Okay, great. So, first of all, family, thank you for tuning in. I hope that we were able to give you something to chew on, something to think about to help expand your mind. And I say again, thank you, and until we speak again.
Yes. Be blessed.
Mm-hmm.
And we say, I you. And I'm hanging up. Oh my God.